You are most welcome back to the GMODISM channel. This is your host Eric, and today we're gonna do some empirical testing. So I'm writing down some different ideas. Steam propellers is one idea that may cause lag. We have block count, we have mimics, decos, water pumps, and I may miss something, so you probably need to write in comments if we need to follow up this video. So cram parts, there are multiple mods out there which we may cover if you want to see them to decrease the lag from cram parts. Here is a little list of, things that may cause lags. Oh yeah, I also forgot, it's not only video screens, but it's also projectors. Possibly like that. If we have a lot of projectors, like projected images and stuff like that. Right, so we might as well check that off before we do that. We are building this on a 2 million platform. We do have 10,000 blocks already, and this is intentional. I want to put a bit of a system load before we add more stuff, because you can clearly see that right now we have an FPS of 70 and the game speed is absolutely fine. So what happens if we say spawn 100,000 blocks? Let's try and spawn 100,000 blocks. So I'm just going to set this up here. And yeah, I think we're gonna do like this. And I'm gonna set this little helper to 10. Because the simplest way to do this is of course to draw up 10 times 10. So we can begin at 10 here and go to 20. So if we go to 20 here, and each of these squares are 5. So this is thus basically, well, 100 blocks. Yeah, that's 100 blocks. So if I stack this 10 tall, we have 1000 blocks. So I should do that. 1, 2, I don't need to count, because I know when we get up to this, we have 1000 blocks. As you can see here, 11,000 blocks is the current number. I can now turn this off, because I do know that here we have it. The FPS is a bit decreased, but I think it may be more momentarily, to be honest. But I do know that each time we copy this cube, we add 1000 blocks more. So I'll just add 1000 blocks more. 1000 blocks more, and here we basically have 5000 blocks. This should be right. If I fill in this little section, it is then 5000 blocks. Right, and this is not a lot, of course. It should perhaps cause lag only when we get up to a lot more. So if we increase the length to some there, so we can copy 5000 blocks at once. We now can get 10,000 blocks, 15,000, 20,000. And then finally, like this. And it's really easy to see, because you can see here 20,000. One wood is one material, and the it's exactly 2 million. So we have now added 25,000 blocks. If we now make another layer, we basically have 50,000 blocks added, just like that. And as you can see, the FPS is now down to 40. Yeah, the block count does seem to indeed cause some lag. We have now 60,000. But I'm thinking only that should not be enough. Let's get in here 100,000 blocks extra, because that is of course the maximum limitation we are offering for most tournaments, that your ship may have mostly 100,000 blocks in total. And there we go. We now have 100,000 blocks extra. And as you can see, the game speed is a little bit decreased and the FPS is down to 40. And now it starts to render the game slower. We should, however, go into the settings and set it to not slow down the game time, but instead just rendering at a lower FPS. Let's see here, desired minimum FPS, we can set it to 25. So we can see how much it actually should. No, it still renders the game slower. That is very interesting. It seems to not change it. Our FPS is still 42, which is kind of interesting, but the game speed is down to, well, almost half speed. So it's really interesting that the setting doesn't really change that much. If we just set this back to default settings instead, we can see if it makes any difference or not. We have a game speed of, yeah, half speed. Basically like that. But now we go, oh, look at that. And now the game speed drops to a little bit lower there. I wonder if it... That's kind of interesting. It seems that it probably saves a number from later. So we probably need to reset this little game time, because I think the values are kind of spread out over a longer time there. All right, so I think we should... this may be a little bit laggy, to be honest, but I'm thinking, what if we just get in 100,000 blocks more? Like this. The game may crash if I copy and paste 100,000 blocks. You can see here that our FPS is really low when we're having 100,000 blocks at once like this. It's really hard to jump precisely, so I guess we'll see if it's gonna be precisely 100,000 blocks we add or not now, because it's a bit hard to control the elevation there. Bam! It looks like the game wants to crash. But no, it did not. We're back in business. No. Now it looks like we're crashing again. Right, we didn't crash, we seem to be back. I'm gonna try and select a random block and hopefully... No. Okay. I'll need to get rid of this big block of rendered stuff. Thank you. That's why I wanted to choose a block. So, FPS is clearly not that low. Let's remove that and take it back up. Our FPS is now 60 and our game speed is pretty full here. And we have, yeah, almost, almost 200,000 blocks extra then. And you know, it does cause some lag and stutters from time to time, but it's not like game-breaking major lag. It is laggy, but I guess we'll say that the FPS go down to 40-ish, you know. it's a medium performance impact having a lot of blocks here. So I actually think we can have M for medium and say 40 as like FPS-ish 40. I think we're gonna have that as a type of rating system. Add it in front of it like that. Block count. Does it decrease performance? Yes, it does, but probably not as much as many people say it will. Now we just casually added 200,000 blocks extra, and very few battleships are over 50,000. I build very bulky, so the Gimli class is like 80,000 blocks, I think it is. I don't quite remember exactly, but something like that. Well, now let's area delete these wood blocks and watch the game burn. I mean the computer. That's the thing that's gonna burn. It's kinda stuttering, yes. While the game maybe crashes, it's a perfect time for self-promotion. If you haven't checked out GMODISM.com yet, you absolutely have to do it. You can get in touch, get to our subreddit where you can suggest content and stuff. You can even go to content and check out content you may not know exists. Like for example, doesn't it work still? Well, we have it from the Depth podcast. I was really hoping it would show up here. Well, go check GMODISM.com. Remind me if I forgot to fix it until when you check that out. Anyways, here you have resources. You can find the Steam Workshop files. If you want to have the graphic files, if you want to see the guides, or if you want to have various downloads, you know, you'll have all the links here, so that should be pretty handy. Enjoy. Check it out, please. And also like this video to support it. I was very sure it was actually going to crash there. It just took literally, I think it took 10 minutes for it to actually render in. So welcome back, Eric. Anyways, next out, I think before we move on, I think we actually should note like how many blocks, like in just 200k like that, brackets behind it. So one thing I was wondering is what if it's mimics like instead? So I'm thinking that we can have like a wooden block, and inside of that wooden block we instead have a mimic instead. So we need to make sure that we don't accidentally like override things like that. And that's really interesting too. Before we move to mimics, what if it were poles instead? We shouldn't add as many as before, but let's just add 100 poles like this. And oh no. Okay. Can you listen to it? Doesn't listen to me inputting middle mouse button. It's almost like I may have broken this menu here. Oh my. I think we'll need to, by moving in here and selecting another prefab that's built into the game, we should be able to unload this huge batch. And now it looks like, oh, the game didn't crash. How nice is that? Okay, that was pretty close that we actually crashed it again there. So if we just do like this and just add a big slab of them like that. Now we're a little bit unprecise, but well, we'll see around how many we add, but you know, somewhere like that. It's a lot of more facets and areas that this actually has. So one would think that adding this then should contribute to a lot more. Now we can't see exactly, however, how many we added, but it should be a good amount. Actually, if we go into the block counter, we can see we added 33,000 of them to be exact. And it looks like the FPS isn't really affected that much. So it doesn't, of course, this has a lot more than just 6 sides, but the amount the polygons has naturally should increase the lag, but it's not to an crazy exponential effect that it's really making us almost unplayable. If we just go in here and see, okay, so this is 50,000. The FPS is still at 60-ish, so yeah. Of course, it lags possibly maybe more than like just using regular cubes, but not to the extent that the game becomes unplayable. But even removing these blocks of slabs, like each time we click Ctrl-Z to remove the spawn slab, it does lag a bit. So mass deleting blocks seems to cause more lag than mass spawning blocks. Good to keep in mind. Yeah, I think we should move on to mimics instead. So by doing that, we will simply... Alright, and now you can just right click when you have this menu up and you'll just automatically delete. It's pretty cool. But we're basically gonna have a wood and little piece, and then on that wooden little piece we are going to spawn a mimic. And to be able to have a lot of mimics, there is a limit of some 5,000, but in the meantime I'll guess we'll just we're gonna reach that number pretty quickly. But I'm just gonna copy paste here. Each of this tiny little block looks like alloy, but it's not. We can quickly see when we reach the limit. Of course, we already have a good couple of mimics on this platform. And it's intentional that we already have things on the platform, because you rarely have an isolated opportunity where you have just, I don't know, 500,000 blocks in a slab lying around and nothing. So we need to have something like this platform or a ship or something to kind of simulate a real world example of how the added lag affects the system as a whole. Should be pretty relevant. Right, so just turning on the little grid here. That is indeed, this should be 1,000 mimics. And really doesn't seem to affect it very much at all. So 1,000 mimics. Or not mimics, this is in fact of course decos. So each of this is 1,000. We can spawn one there, 1,000 extra. I think the limit is, yeah, here you can see we are starting to spawn without mimics. We have now maxed out the amount of mimics we can have, which is 5,000. And the game speed, yeah, that is very small actually. Very small performance impact. I can't see a performance impact at this stage, to be honest. I will spawn a couple of more. To do that, we'll need to utilize sub-objects. So I am going to... that it doesn't go that high, but whatever. I'm going to utilize this, which is a sub-object. And then we basically have the opportunity to spawn some 5,000 more. Here you can see we are now out of mimics here. And for this sub-object, we are still... We are basically not affected. Just that we have these mimics on top of here. And we haven't even hidden the block beneath it. Which I suppose doesn't really matter. I hope. But it shouldn't be able to matter. We can just check the hide original mesh. Yeah. it would make no sense if that would matter. But if it does, I'm sure any one of you in the comments will tell me about it. Because, yeah, it wouldn't make sense. But if it is indeed so, then I'm sure a lot of you know it. So, we basically spawn mimics. It's easier to actually Control Z this because, yeah, they are a bit sticky. Mimics, we have a low performance impact. Our FPS was like still at basically 60 most of the time. And we spawned 20,000 of them. Or no, 10,000, isn't it? Should be 10,000, right? Yeah. Maybe they cause more lag than blocks themselves, but I don't think they do. I think what causes lag when it comes to Mimic is probably some blocks that has like more areas and stuff like that, which will be apparent a little bit later in the testing session. Right. So now we come to something that I know causes a lot of lag. I think we can do it on this platform too, actually. I'm not 100% certain, but I think we can just make a big little area here. And we're gonna test helium/water pumps. We're gonna test the helium pumps because these are of course over. I'll need to have an area there, but that we are going to take on later. Right, so let me just build the big cube. So we're just going to fill up a lid like this, and for just the niceness, we're gonna have a glass top like this. So inside of this, if we then go to air and spawn a little pump, we're going to turn on the measure lag here. All right. Probably we can't display this on something like this. So I'm just going to make a copy of this and spawn it in the water instead. There we go. Oh my. Right, so here we have a interesting thing. It's a bit... It jumps up and down like that pretty quickly. Volume greater than, well, if we set this to 0, it will drop, right? And ooh, it goes pretty fast when you do this. Right, I think we should swap this for a water pump. I think water pumps have a larger risk of causing a lag, actually. We'll see about that. But in my experience, water pumps causes a lot of lag when we have holes and we have like battles and stuff. I'm just gonna spawn 4 of them so we can spawn in more later. And now we basically have, yeah, we can see physics like that. I think we may want to make this a bit heavier, so we're gonna just swap this to lead. And there. Oh, bam, look at that. Look at that. You see the stutters here? Yeah. That's a lot of lag. 50 FPS. Just like that. It just causes stutter. It's so annoying. I don't like the water pumps. They cause lag. So now we have 4 of them like this, and it really causes some irritating stuttering. I'm just gonna take this, a block that's kind of half perforated so we can see in between. And we're gonna see if the lag gets significantly worse if we square these up in isolated areas. Gonna have 4 of them here. And now, for the biggest lag test, we're gonna remove so we have a hole. And in a scenario, we are going to just go with the death ray and cause some random holes here and there. And that actually didn't lag as much as I thought it would. Huh. It's like it stopped lagging a bit. In battles and stuff, this caused a lot of lag. But now we're back to 60. Okay, we're back to 2 compartments like this. Now it feels like we're almost smooth. But when we're moving this around, maybe now is the time where we're getting stutterings. Interesting. I probably need to take down this menu again and bring it up. We're back to good FPS now. And if we make some holes here and there... It's very interesting because I do know this causes a lot of lag when it comes to battles and stuff. But from our isolated testing, we can conclude that sometimes it stutters, but otherwise the addition of the water pump is a temporary effect. I want to try and just switch this to a helium pump and see what happens. Then of course want to go up into the air a bit. Interesting. Well, I know from experience that having water pumps in big battles just cause insane amounts of stuttering. So it's hard to assess it based on this isolated criteria like this, but the issue with water pumps is usually when they are pumping and we have a scenario where we're dealing damage, and the different pumps have different compartments and stuff like that, and then they really cause a lot of stuttering. I suppose we could try that a little bit by just spawning some pumps along the line like this. Or possibly it's only in a like real battle scenario this is actually an issue. Could be the case, but when we're dealing with water pumps we usually have a lot of different tiny layers or compartments. But as you can see here, it's not that bad. What if we like pull these forces out of play and then play them again? It's absolutely fine. Perhaps it's something with damage calculations in that case that causes the real lag. Because right now the lag isn't that bad. Very interesting. Well, we might have to... now, I think I'm pretty sure that in a battle scenario it still causes lag, but it's possible it's been fixed. So before we do our next well, battleship tournament and stuff like that of sorts, I am going to test again in a battleship scenario, adding water pump versus removing them. It was some time ago I did try that last, so it's of course a good idea to test again. I think it's still gonna cause a lot of lag, but... well, I guess we'll have to set it in this isolated test. When we added them in the beginning, they were lagging a lot more, and then they lagged really much less. So the impact right now is actually small with a 55 FPS. Oh wait, this is... What? Like... what scale am I using here? So the decos is like none. I guess N will stand for nothing, medium is M, small is S, and large is L. I don't know what I was thinking. However, we do want to say stuttering in beginning, because that's a proper thing we need to memorize there. Stuttering in beginning is a pretty annoying little thing. Now, steam propellers. It really felt before that steam propellers caused a good bit of lag, so we'll need to test that. Just spawning in a couple of steam propellers, we should be able to see if it causes, like if the model themselves causes a lot of lag or not. Whoops. This is like more steam propellers than you reasonably have on a ship, but depends on the ship. Just adding a big line of these here. Alright. Like, it's like 50 FPS. This actually causes some lag. And if we remove these steam propellers, I love that we can't area delete them. Look at that. Just adding the steam propellers. No, I don't think, maybe it didn't have an effect actually. We're going to make a little sheet vehicle and just add a couple of steam propellers to it. See if it changes anything. Well, I did a couple of them. And FPS is like 70. Game speed is fine. Maybe we need to have a lot more for it to make any type of difference. I'm not sure. So, not entirely sure this is actually a thing. Let's add a couple of steam propellers that are fitted into a piece of hull. See if that causes any difference. We're just gonna add a couple of them here and see if it affects the FPS or not. And for them to be able to move, we're just gonna turn on for all. And yeah. Yeah, 70. Can't really see much. Before, we had some data that suggested that it would be enormously. Can we like get this to work? Interesting. Oh, they're probably moving a little bit from time to time, maybe. I don't know. But it was also water propellers in general, so I am going to just get in some small water propellers and just see if that causes a lot of lag or not when we're adding this. Now we have like a lot of water propellers. And they're all set to automatic control, so they have to figure out themselves what they are. Make sure that they are on auto. And perhaps also, we should set them up like this. Make sure they actually work. Something like this, yeah. We have a lot of them. And they do have effect on stuff too, and you can clearly see they are working. Now we're down to 50 FPS. The game speed is somewhat affected, but we do have a lot of water propellers. So possibly having a lot of propellers like this could possibly have a small impact, but it's not at all what it seemed like when we tested it before. moving back and forth, we get some different FPS values. So it seems to be like the water pumps, but not with the stuttering in the beginning. Maybe like 55. It was closer to 60. I'm gonna check a final time if we move over there. Here we can see back at base we have like that, and when we are right here, we are like at 55. Almost 60. I guess 55 is a good number. Something a lot of people complain about is cram parts causing a lot of lag. So just to make sure that it's working cram parts and not just, you know, many turrets or stuff like that, I'm gonna go here and just spawn in some cram Tetris. I think probably a T17 variant or something. Or just like this, T15. We're gonna have a big cram here. So we are having, right now we're having 60 FPS. We're down to 55 for unknown reasons. We're just gonna spawn in cram parts. So we're gonna make a big cram cannon stack here using our pre-built Tetris. And I'm just gonna copy this into some different iterations so that we have something that could possibly, whoa, resemble a battleship or something. Now it is a bit laggy to remove that misplaced tower. Here you can see, oh yes, look at that. You can see it takes time for it to spawn in. Maybe because it just has too many sides, voxels. Look at that. Yeah, this actually causes some lag. Look at that. That makes me curious if other weapon systems are affected too, especially like the high poly versions. So right now we have a 26 FPS. That's bad. Just for curiosity, you can see we're spawning cram connectors, but it's really taking time. We're gonna make a half-assed connection to many of the pellets. Just like that. Having a little firing piece. And I want to see if that causes a major lag spike. Just adding that. Can't really say it does. Just lags behind a little bit. 30 FPS, that's a lot. That's actually affecting the FPS a big amount. Maybe we need to check out some of these turrets. These mod packs that replaces the cram parts. This is actually a major performance impact. I'll just let the game just sit around here for a little bit of a time and check again here. 26. Oh man. We have to, wow, that's a big performance impact. And I mean, we have spawned more blocks, so it's not just simply because of the block count. These blocks do cause more lag, and I think it's because you can see they have a lot of details, they have a lot of sides, they have a lot of shaders, they just look really good. Packer 20,000. But it's nowhere near the 200,000 blocks we popped in there, you know? It's maybe 100,000, I don't know. Look, now I area deleted cram parts and it just doesn't unrender. That's crazy. Well, we can definitely say that the cram parts have a large impact. We get like down to 26 FPS when we do that. And then we had cram parts Well, can't really check in exact numbers now, but what is it? 20,000, 30, 40, 50-ish. Maybe only 50,000 blocks, give or take. That's crazy. So just in 50k. I didn't think it would... Yeah, I didn't think it would be that laggy. The steam propellers, it's like not available. Wow. By the way, one of the things I really like with the platform Mark III here is that you don't need to worry about if you accidentally delete things over the edge. The previous version had some decos there, but this version, it doesn't matter. You can like delete infinitely over the edge. Nothing goes over this edge here. Not even this thing here. Everything is precisely below the edge, so that it will be no trouble when you're deleting stuff. Look at that. There are some other parts that cause a lot of lag too, and I believe Plasma have a similar super high-res thing. Missiles look absolutely ancient, and so does APS, so I don't think they will cause a lot of lag. Except, of course, if you have if you have the magazines which are visible. We can actually check that out right away. If we just make a little APS system here with some coolers like this, and we're gonna have some auto loaders. Make sure they fit. Ba-dam, 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 ba-dam. And we're gonna have like, just gonna have a simple line of ammo. So we're basically gonna make super tall ammo towers, and we're gonna use the variant that is the see-through. So to compare, I'm first going to make the area like this. Like that. And just close it up like this. And then I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna fill in this area with these, so it's easy to delete later. And we just assign a random shell here, like that. And we just click refill APS shells, very nice. Now we have an FPS of 60, very little lag difference, but if we delete this and instead go with the see-through, the laggy type, bam, we go like this, and now each and every shell will be visible when it's loading in here. So you can see that they are already starting to stack up. And if we refill the APS, we can see we have a... Oh, yeah, that's a lot of stutters actually. Look at that. That is so laggy. Look at that. Now we see the shells, sure, here. So that's why you shouldn't use the clear see-through shells. We get down to 27 FPS. Yeah, I didn't think about that. We'll need to add this as a new metric. But here we can see a clear example how the non-see-through, they didn't cause any lag at all. Absolutely fine. But when we added this see-through, we even got into degraded mode. Absolutely miserable. Well, we're gonna delete that system. Yes. Reactivate, thank you. That looks pretty cool actually. Well, whatever. So we can already have large 20, was it 27 or 26? I don't remember. 27 I think it was, FPS, APS, C, row, clips. That's a big performance killer. Well, let's try out like plasma systems instead. I do have it's pretty hard to spawn in big plasma like that. Let's see if they have a big little thing here. It's not big enough. I'm gonna bring out my own Tetris, my plasma Tetris. So I have some really big 3-barrel Tetris here. So I'm just gonna do like this. And just make a really big little tower. Thank you. It's quite some blocks. Let's spawn in some. That should give us enough parts, right? And bam, add another one there. Ooh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, as expected, plasma does cause some lag. Well, when we spawn them in a little bit like this, we are adding... It feels like it's lagging a lot more than the FPS shows. It seems to be maybe not quite as bad. Generator 20,000, 20 chambers. I think we have a similar amount to the cram cannon, so it shouldn't be that off. But we have 38 like that, so the cram part seems to be particularly laggy. Let's guess that it's ish 50,000, but we get a smaller lag part, 38 FPS. I would say this is a medium lag part for plasma. Plasma parts, yeah, medium lag. Now we're just gonna clean this up. Oh, I forgot to reset the timer. Look at that. FPS, it felt like a lot more because it was a lot more. 23 FPS. Holy crap. It's as bad, at least. At least. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I checked that. That's like 25 then. That's a large performance impact too. Yeah. Okay, plasma parts lags as much as cram parts basically. And that's of course because they are so beautiful, they have so many different areas and stuff like that. Flamers may lag a little bit too, I actually think, but the good thing with flamers is that flamers are in a completely different way. They are usually small system, you don't make them super big. Neither do you usually do with plasma, but especially for flame, because they are so dangerous to your own system as well, that I don't think this will be a problem basically ever. Just a quick little comparison. It may not be exactly as much. We have like 2000. It's like a much smaller system, but we can see we have like probably a very small performance impact from this. Let's see here. We are down to 50. Yeah, let's just spawn this up here a little bit and add on to this slab a tiny little bit, just to make sure that it doesn't cause insane lag if we add a couple of tiers more. Yeah, that's a pretty big APS system. 40 FPS, so I guess if we check the block count, it's some 5,000. How many parts can it be? Hard to say. 5, 4. We do have a really big Tetris variant here, so I guess an APS cannon that's really, really big with smaller blocks and stuff like that. If it's not see-through, perhaps like medium performance impact or small, yeah, it's not comparable to the big performance impact that our cram cannons and our plasma has. Yeah, just APS part, small, medium, you know. Not that big of a deal. Now, we come to sub-objects. So sub-objects, it's something I think cause a good bit of lag, to be honest. But I'm not completely sure. I think I want to take a... like a simple weapon turret will have a good bit of... just a small bit of blocks, some small stuff. So that's like the smallest turret you could have. If we just add them away like this, we start at a strong 70 FPS. And when we add them like this, just easily to be able to keep count of them. Putting one in each square like this. Because this is like 6. Yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have like 10 of them here. So we're up to 30, 40, 50. Yeah, I think I may have missed one. 60. Like 50 FPS. The fact that there are many sub-objects, we're gonna see how much they lag when they start moving. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with this row. We basically have 100 of them. Something like that. Measuring FPS, we now have an FPS of 39. Game speed is almost acceptable. Whoops. Let me remove that. So, now I control all of them. Look at that. Well, that's a lot of shells. But controlling them like this, it's not causing that much lag. 40 FPS. Like, 100 sub-objects obviously is a bit much, but that sub-objects cause immense amount of lags. Maybe they don't cause that much lag. It's of course a little bit more in combat. It's still a good idea to limit them, but we get down to a 40 FPS with 100, oh I can't write, 100 turrets. Right, isn't that true? So sub-objects, not the worst culprit. Now, something I'm pretty curious about, vehicle amount. I'm thinking we're gonna spawn a pretty not that laggy vehicle. So it's a tiny plane, it has a good couple of mimics of course, but it's not that laggy. Let's just, let's spawn 2 of them. And we have an FPS of 60. So, let's have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 of them. $56, we're kind of at 60 FPS, it's not that bad. Perhaps we can set spawn at a distance of something like that. Hold until 100% complete. And yeah. Let's maybe that, oh that takes too long time. So okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. 29 and 30. 30 tiny planes, not trying to collide with each other, flying around in the air. Probably doing a lousy job at it, but whatever. When it comes to small vehicles, it seems to have a small impact, to be honest. We have like 50 FPS. Just to check that, what happens if we spawn an enemy? When all of my 30 tiny planes will go to attack. I do fear they will collide with each other a bit, but... Oh, look at that. Now we have an FPS down to 40. When they are actually needing to do combat, it will have a medium impact, it seems like. It's not that bad. When they are not having an enemy, the impact honestly seems to be small, which is crazy. It seems that they are a bit confused perhaps when it's so many planes like this. Look at that. Seems like we're accidentally... I did spawn them on my team. Well... Welp. That's a lot of them. Destroy enemy vehicles. Thank you very much. Well, I guess small, medium performance. We only spawned 30, but that's kind of a lot too. But let's say medium. I know it's a bit more when we have bigger vehicles. Like these are absolutely tiny. The only thing we wanted to test was if the vehicle amount by itself caused that amount of lag. 30 planes. Many AI cores. Well, I feel we kind of tested this at the same time. If you have like 50 AI cores, maybe it causes more lag, but we'll need to set them up then, like, to control different turrets, each of them. It will be a little bit advanced. So, yeah, I don't think that's very relevant. If we can have 30 in the air like this, of course, what we can test is if we just go here and go to the AI and just add a line of AIs like this and have a line of wireless transmitter like this. Maybe we cause some extra lag. I don't know. But no, it doesn't seem to be... Yeah, we don't need to do further testing like this. Having them spawned by themselves isn't really the laggy part in any case. That much we can say. It's much harder to get rid of these when you have spawned them than to spawn them. Perhaps swatting them in the air with just a big club is easier. Possibly. Well, whatever. Next out on the list is trying, will it lag if we make a really, really, really long rod? Like, ish, I'm thinking 4,000 meters. So for example, if we have a ship or something that's just so long, it's kind of ridiculous. Will that cause lag? I don't know. I guess it will cause some lag. Just gonna give it one line back here, maybe not all the way, but just so it sits still somewhat. I'm sure that's fine. Now we have a 4-kilometer long rod made out of wood. And the FPS is some 70, you know. It seems that the fact that this thing is really long doesn't really cause lag itself. Not at least if it's 4 kilometer. Can't really measure it much. Yeah. It's like 60, 70, it's like regular FPS. Long lines? Not at all. 60. It's not 69. Well, I guess it is now. And we have 4K, 4 kilometers. Now, we have something I for a fact know causes a lot of lag, and that's video screens. The video screen's YouTube function is actually broken, but it doesn't matter. It causes a bit of lag anyways. If we can just click play. Doesn't work. Oh. So then we can paste it here. Come on, control. Now it should, and we can just bring up the... look at that. So we have a couple of video screens, and yeah, we can't even see what they are playing. They're playing a video from Relaxism, my ASMR channel. And we can't see it, and it's like 19 FPS. What? It's like, what? It's really annoying. A lot of people like to use video screens to not make proper bridges, but instead rely on wireless. So we can do that too. That unfortunately also causes lag. See where that camera is. I always forget it because I never use it. Maybe control, wireless camera, yep. Right here. And now we can set it to be camera instead on channel 1. Select camera. Very nice. We can copy these new settings. See if it lags as much or not. Oh my, it's like really bad. I think we were down to like 18 FPS or whatever. Like really bad. Ugh. The game speed is 0.3. It's absolutely abysmal. We went back to degraded mode. If we didn't have the degraded mode, this would basically be lower. That the game speed is at 0.3. I guess we should calculate the FPS at some... Is it like a third of that? It's like 5 FPS or whatever. A little bit more. Let's say 6 FPS. Oh man. If we just delete this. Here we are, back to normal. Absolutely fine again. I think that's the laggiest thing you can have in this game. That's that. There's a large performance impact. We can rate that at like 6 FPS or something. And what did we have? Did we have like 5x video screens? I don't know, but not a lot. Not a lot is required to cause that much lag, sadly. Something I'm a bit curious about is if projector screens will cause much of lag. So let's enable our reference image display. And I went to Imgur and I found some random like 8K posters and stuff. So I'm thinking we're gonna have this here. Whoops. You can see it's a really high res. Can make it large. Project that far away. Can have this one. I think that's also an 8K one. Like that, very nice. Have another one here. Add that there. And have it a pretty small one. This is the highest resolution of all of them. It's a really high res. So our FPS when we are projecting these super high-res images, it's like this. So if we disable the reference system, like that, our FPS is now 60 normal. If we enable the reference system, I guess there is maybe a small one, if that. We're gonna add a lot more. I'm gonna have hologram projectors, and I'm gonna have inside of there this, the highest res of them all, projection range. We're gonna make it not too large. Force image like that, and I'm going to make this small little copy. Well, whatever. It looked ugly when we overlaid them too much. It stutters a big time when we spawn them in like that. The moment we drop in the image, it's like a really high res one. All right, there we go. 60 FPS, 55, 53. When we can see all of them, yeah, it's like these 8K images. Not such a big deal actually. Image projectors, we set it to small, maybe 55-ish. I don't know how many, but a good bit of 8K ones. Just small impact. Good to know. If even that. It's like, no, it's not really. I think that's basically what I thought to test. If we just do a little recap, what causes lag? Well, block count. It has a medium performance. When we just plop in 200k blocks, it will lower the FPS, but not by as much as a lot of people think. So the block count limit for the Gimli battles were 100,000, so it could be 100,000 versus 100,000. It's still recordable. Mimics decos, we could add 10,000 regular block mimics, not a big deal. I didn't even notice at that. Water and helium pumps, they stutter so much a lot of the time. I was surprised to not see more issues actually in our testings here. That's like not that bad, just stuttering in the beginning, but I do know for a fact that in my experience when we're doing battle, it causes just so much more lag. Steam propellers? No, not really. Not a big thing, or propellers in general. Maybe it was something before, but right now it doesn't seem to cause a lot of lag. Cram parts, major performance impactor. Plasma parts, major performance impactor. Those were really shredding the performance, really hardcore, that's insane. Sub-object, 100 turrets, no problem at all. Vehicle amount, 30 planes. A little bit of performance impact when we did a battle, but when we were out of battle, basically not much performance at all impacted. Long lines? No. Just making a 4K kilometer beam long doesn't really cause you a lot of issues. Video screens? Oh yes, that's the hardest performance impactor of them all. We just dropped to FPS in a super hardcore level. That was insane. And projectors? No, not that much. I thought the projectors would actually cause some more impact performance, but it's good it doesn't, because the platform has some built-in high-res images. I can actually show you that right away, but yeah, and that doesn't affect performance, which is good. However, APS see-through clips, man, that was insane. When I mean high-res images, it's, you know, stuff like this and the regular turret templates like these. these are like 8,000 pixels times 8,000 pixels to make sure that they render smoothly when we well, make them visible. Well, I hope this little empirical testing session was useful for you so that you know what causes a lot of lag. For my system at least, it may be different for your system, but I think that it should be pretty similar for most, actually. Well, there we have it, a little rundown on what may cause some lagging from the depth. At least I tried what I could think of to try. If you know some other things that cause a lot of lag too, please do tell me about it and we can do some comparisons in the future. And other than that, just tell me what you thought about it. And with this little empirical testing, I'll just want to say huge thanks for everyone who watching this in the end. Please like the video too to support it. That helps a lot. And special thanks to our supporters, which is our commissioned officers. Captain. No, not at all. We don't have a captain right now. I, of course, mean Admiral Dragon X62. We have commanders Ben Wilke and Delphin, our lieutenants Ali, Anto, Cravey, Flars Dagon, Daniel Saikin, Owen, Par by Greed, Vincent Veritas, Rick Prill, and Scoobrox. Also, big thanks to all our cadets and everyone in the Ecclesiarchy of GMODISM who saw this video early. In any case, hope indeed that this was a little bit useful for you to know what actually causes lag in the game and not. This is your host Eric, and I'm signing out until next time. Check out gmodism.com and the live stream at GMODIST. Yes, stop rambling, GMODISM.